today. He is a great political prognosticator. In fact, you know, they asked him once in 2010, before the November elections in 2010, how many Republicans are going to gain seats in the House of Representatives in Congress? And he said, 60 plus, the name of his organization. He was the most accurate political pundit because we gained 63 seats. Please welcome the president of 60 plus, Jim Martin.
Well, what a great introduction from my friend Howard. Folks, let me dispel a couple of things about the Ted Turner look-alike. When my wife and I go to Atlanta, we get the best seat in the house. But the downside is we're expected to pick up the tab. We don't go back to Atlanta very much anymore. And yes, I'm happily married, have 15 grandchildren, and so not married to you-know-who. One other thing, too, about my friend George W. Bush, yes, in Florida, my home state, we hired him right out of Yale. He did a good job for us. I've known him for 44 years. We're still friends. I saw him last year out in Dallas. And somebody said, Jim, what's it like to hire I said, well, I happen to be in the right place at the right time for the right person, if you see where I'm going to my right. And I like that. So, and thank you, Howard, very much. And by the way, I started 60 Plus as a conservative alternative to the 800-pound gorilla, the AARP. And so there's no mistaking. Look at my bumper sticker. AARP, Association Against Retired Persons. Thank you very much, because that's quite frankly what they are. They are a Fortune 500 making millions of dollars on the backs of the elderly. And while at 60 plus, we're selling something too. It's called conservatism, limited government, less taxes, and quite frankly, an adherence to a document that too many people have forgotten about in Washington, the Constitution of the United States. I want you to know that a couple other differences, but first of all, let me tell you the real reason I'm here. Two reasons. I'm recruiting senior citizens to my banner. If anybody out there is 60 plus, I want to talk to you later. I don't see anybody out there, I don't believe. Well, maybe a few. Thank you. But also I'm here to thank you folks for electing a governor, a lieutenant governor, and others who did the right thing. You know, I went to Washington 50 years ago this year as a newspaper reporter. Forgive me. I was a reporter. I'm a recovering reporter, if you will. For 50 years ago, and I've seen a lot of politicians come and a lot of them go. They make promises. They don't keep them generally. Well, a strange thing happened here in Wisconsin. Your governor, your lieutenant governor, these folks, they kept their promises. They balanced the budget. They created jobs. How odd. A politician doing what he said he would do. So on behalf of my senior citizens, I said I got to go out there and tell them we're grateful to have leaders like that. My seniors, and by the way, going back to my favorite whipping boy, the AARP, the Association Against Retired Persons, while they claim 40 million, we have at 60 plus now over 7 million seniors, and we're growing. And while, whoa, what a great crowd this is. Out here on Remember Tuesday. I won't be here then. I have to go back home, get ready to go on some other tours. But the fact is, the AARP and 60 plus, I'll make a couple of more small distinctions. Besides the fact that they make millions of dollars on the backs of seniors selling and hawking a lot of products. They, and we don't, we sell a philosophy, but their man of the year is Harry Belafonte. Well, now, while Harry Belafonte is a great entertainer, and he is, but he likes to hobnob with folks like Ahmadinejad and Chavez. He is so liberal, he makes the president look conservative, and that's a tough thing to do. While our favorite senior is our spokesman at the 60 Plus Association, you may have heard of him, legendary singer Pat Boone. And Pat likes to tout his friendship with the late Ronald Reagan, who was his buddy and he worked with so long. So I got to tell you this too, and I got a little bit of disappointing news, if you will, to report to you now. While Pat Boone was going to be here with us, he can't be because of an illness in his family. Pat's only been married 57 or 58 years, he and Shirley. They have 4 daughters. Shirley Boone is facing some surgery very shortly, major surgery, some eye surgery. And I talked to Pat a couple of times coming up here, and he said, please tell the folks in Green Bay. He was coming out here. But as someone said, I think it was Howard Klugen, when I told him this sad news, Howard said, well, he would not be Pat Boone if he didn't stay home with his family. So, folks, I'm sorry he won't be here, but he's home in Beverly Hills with his wife, Shirley Boone. And Pat said, I said, well, Pat, you just had a birthday, which he did on Friday, June the 1st. He said, Jim, just tell him I'm 60 plus. Pat was 78 years old Friday. He's still going strong, and he is our hero. And I want you to know he would have been here, I guarantee you. He's such a patriot. He's such a patriotic American. Pat Boone would have been here to walk down and say hello and shake your hands. So thank you again on that note. But let me tell you one other thing now on this Obamacare, the health care business that we all fought so hard against a couple of years ago. I watched some of those senior citizens talking against that piece of garbage 2 years back, and that's what it was. They still rammed it down our throats. But back 2 years ago, the Speaker of the House of Representatives had the audacity to say to those men and women in the audiences, she called them un-American. And that's when I decided at the 60 Plus Association to get out there and try to do something about it. Because for her to say that you were un-American, I looked at those men and women. I served in the Marine Corps, obviously I'm proud of that. Semper Fi. But we had men and women who were in the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, you name it. Men and women who fought to give her the right to call you un-American. And I thought, how in the world can she get away with that? I won't name her, but her initials are Nancy Pelosi. She is no longer, of course, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And you know something, folks? Back then, when I was going around, and you folks were too, talking about that bad medicine foisted upon us called Obamacare, I predicted there'd be a senior citizen tsunami headed toward Capitol Hill, and Howard Klugen was right when he said, yeah, it's coming, and it did. It washed out over 60-some Democrats who stood behind that bill. We kept warning them, you better update your resumes because you're going to be looking for a new line of work in November. And we were right. And now I'm predicting in 2012, a lot of senators had better on the Senate side because the Republicans and conservatives took over the House in 2010. They're this close to taking over the Senate in 2012. So that same senior citizen tsunami is still offshore. It's going to come ashore again. And there are a number of senators. One I got to mention out in Montana, Senator Tester the other day said, no, I wasn't the 60th vote. I wasn't the one. He said, I was only the 55th or 56th vote. Give me a break. How dumb can you be? You obviously voted for this piece of this mess, and we're going to repeal it. But the fact is, I think that tsunami will come ashore again, and they're going to pay the price. Also, it may also send back one individual towards Chicago. Who would that be? I think he's headed that way too. Let me say to you veterans in the crowd, when somebody introduced me as a former Marine or an ex-Marine, I said, well, you know, we can live with once a Marine, always a Marine, we know that. But the former Marine, we can handle that. Ex-Marines, no, there are no such, well, wait. There are a couple of ex-Marines, Lee Harvey Oswald and Dan Rather. As a former reporter, I have the gumption to say that about Mr. Rather. Listen, folks, thank you so much for your attention. I'm going to come down and recruit senior citizens to join